Welcome to your Houston Rewind for August 7th through August 11th. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. We know catching up on the news can be a little overwhelming in a city like Houston where it just doesn't stop. So every weekend, we take this opportunity to fill you in on some of the stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. Monday, we got our first look at an unidentified teen killed 50 years ago by notorious serial killer Dean Corll. He was known as the Candyman. Facial recognition technology created an image that investigators hope will help them learn the teen's name. Sherman Chow met with the team helping with the case.
In 1973, Elmer Wayne Henley's confession and murder of Dean Corll unraveled what was then the nation's worst serial killer case. 17 of their 28 victims were found wrapped in plastic in a Houston boat shed. One victim has yet to be identified. Now, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or NCMEC, has released new images.
And then you'll notice that the image is also black and white, because even if we know the ancestry is likely Caucasian, we don't know exact hair color, eye color, skin tone.
Colin McNally leads the forensic imaging team. They use photos and information from anthropologists and medical examiners for things like skull measurements.
You know, the size of the orbits, you're going to be able to see everything from the, potential placement of the eyes to the brow ridge.
Then there is the clothing. The victim wore a distinctive lace-up shirt with a peace symbol on the back with this writing underneath, and leather cowboy boots. The victim also wore striped swim trunks with a silver belt buckle that had wings and the letter C in the middle.
The actual photograph, unedited and unaltered by the forensic artist.
Since its creation, the NCMEC team has generated 235 digital reconstructions. 49 have led to positive IDs on previously unknown victims, bringing closure to many families.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's gotta feel good.
You feel like you have the best job in the world.
If anything looks familiar, head to KHOU.com for links on how to contact authorities. Sherman Chow, KHOU 11 News.
More armed officers are coming to elementary schools in 6 Houston area districts. Harris County Precinct 4 Constable Mark Herman announced the Guardian program Monday afternoon. Adam Bennett learned the program has support from parents and buy-in from police chiefs in Tomball and beyond.
For Spring High junior Dennis Tejada,
I think about well,
and Klein Kane mom Rachel McCall.
You don't want that call during the day, so very important.
School safety is a key issue. For parents who've taken our back to school survey, it's the top issue. It's also top of mind for Harris County Precinct 4 Constable Mark Herman.
There's no greater service than protecting the kids.
Today, he unveiled a plan to use retired and former police officers from his Reserve Deputy Division as student resource officers at elementary schools. They're certified peace officers with the same powers and training as any other deputy. The only difference, they're unpaid volunteers.
I had one gentleman call me and said, hey, he said, I live in the Elmville area and I would love to work the school where my granddaughter goes. And I said, sure.
The Guardians will wear the Precinct 4 uniform and drive Precinct 4 vehicles, but work under the umbrella of their campus's ISD police chief. They'll be joined by more than 200 of Constable Herman's regular deputy constables assigned to campuses across Spring, Tomball, Klein, Cy-Fair, Humble, and Aldine ISDs.
The majority of the issues are at high schools and middle schools so that you kind of divert your resources. But we've got to think, even though there's no problems per se at elementaries, when it comes to protecting our kids, we've got to make them part of the equation.
Herman says the Guardian program will take about half of his reserve deputies away from his patrol division.
It may increase my response time by 1 or 2 minutes, on some calls, but and some calls may hold a little bit longer. But we got to prioritize our law enforcement. We got to think outside the box.
Constable Herman won't discuss the total number of reserve deputies or schools benefiting for security reasons. He's asking retired, honorably discharged police officers to apply. They'll undergo background checks and get the training they need to work for schools in their community. We want to help as much as we can with back to school, so we've been gathering your responses in our back to school survey. As Adam mentioned, safety and security have been a top issue, along with preparing for the next grade level and teacher shortages. A reminder, you can text the word school to 713-526-1111 and we'll send you the link to fill out the survey. 2 Houston area boys are changing the game when it comes to skateboarding. Zach Tohotari talked to the twins who hope to make it to the sport's biggest stage.
inside this South Houston warehouse. Air is measured in different degrees.
360, 540, 720, 900, 1080.
These twins,
I don't know what I'd do without him. Yeah, because we push each other.
Friendswood fourth graders,
My name is Jaden Alaman. And I'm Jackson Alaman. And we are 9 years old. And we skate Southside Skate Park.
have only been skating for 2 years.
We love the fact that the creativity draws you towards it.
But already they're nailing some of the sport's biggest tricks.
The trick is called the 540.
Not always easy to watch for Mom Christy.
Because they have no fear. They just want to try everything that they see other people do and they know they can do it. But it scares me, and it's pretty cool because I think they've caught on to it pretty quickly.
Skateboarding might not be traditional. But Eric Vicente, who's been running Southside since 2007, says the sport is evolving.
It's just become something for all people.
The twins, although outliers,
They're ridiculous right now.
are an example of the sport getting younger and more mainstream.
It's on trend and then it's off trend and on trend and off trend. With the Olympics, every 4 years, it kind of upticks it every 4 years, whereas previously skateboarding was on what they call a 10-year cycle.
Thank you, Jaden, for letting me borrow your helmet.
Yeah.
We're gonna have front foot on the bolts, back foot on the bolts, weight in the middle.
Yeah,
Okay, here we go, let's try it.
Yeah.
The boys have already begun competing, rubbing elbows with some of skate's elite athletes like Houston native, U.S. Olympian, and Southside team member Jordan Santana. This past summer, they even traveled to California using skateboarding legend Tony Hawk's private ramp. Yeah! And just a few weeks before starting school, they continued to learn valuable lessons.
It encourages you to get back up and try again.
The twins are already looking to the future and where they'll land.
We want to go to the X Games. We want to go to the Olympics. We're just so ready for the future.
Tuesday afternoon, KHOU 11 was on the ground along the Texas-Mexico border while a Democratic congressional delegation checked out controversial buoys Governor Abbott installed in the Rio Grande. Aniela Ruiz also toured the area with DPS.
¿De dónde son? Venezuela. Dozens of migrants from Venezuela are up before the sun. They're trying to cross the dangerous Rio Grande to beat the heat here in Eagle Pass.
If we look back, when this everything started here at the border, this was probably one of the main crossing areas where they would cross directly, from Mexico, cross the river, and then go straight up to this property over here.
And because of that, Governor Abbott's Operation Lone Star put up these 1,000-foot buoys along the river. In the middle of them, you can see blades, but the buoys aren't stopping people. They're just walking around them.
Now the barrier's in place, so obviously now we've been able to shift that activity further downriver or up.
DPS agents are arresting many of the migrants, and they're charging them with a misdemeanor. And just a few feet from the buoys is Heavenly Farm. The owners say they do appreciate help from Border Patrol, but Operation Lone Star, they say, has taken over their property and ultimately affecting their crops.
They're going to be here to support them that way, not take over a specific area, take over people's private properties, and trespass, etc., and do everything that they're doing.
Today, a congressional Democratic delegation took a tour listening to those concerns, and they feel DPS is overstepping.
It is the federal responsibility.
It's a tragedy. I just think that Abbott is just totally overstepping his bounds. This is an area that really he is stepping over the bounds of private property owners and the bounds of immigration.
See, the local officials say they need the help with the immigration influx, but feel like DPS is taking over.
I am concerned now that the state of Texas has forced CBP out of that area around the Obina property.
That family told Aniela they traveled for 4 months. They said they tried the CVP app for weeks, but it failed for them, so they crossed the river after they ran out of money and had no way to turn back. You can watch more of our coverage from the border on KHOU.com. Just go to KHOU.com/@theborder. Customers of a popular formal wear chain are furious after Owl's Formal Wear abruptly shut its doors and stopped answering calls. Matt Doherty spoke with one of the couples left scrambling after the store shut down.
This location on Voss is like all the others. It never opened today. On the door is a note telling customers they're closed until further notice.
because this is the perfect match.
Tonight, Stephanie and Daniel are having to pick out tuxedos for the second time before their wedding. So y'all don't have much time.
No, sir. When we got the news, I went into a full-blown panic.
It's only 18 days before their big day, and they're having to make some big choices once again.
Now we're having to, debate, do we do tie, no tie?
The couple thought they'd already handled all of this. The box on their to-do list was checked months ago. They'd made $100 deposits for all of their groomsmen, and the groomsmen had put down their own $100 deposits when they were fitted for their tuxes. But now it seems all that money has been lost.
My coordinator gave me a phone call while I was on the way to go pick up some wedding stuff. And she said, hey, you might want to try to go call Al's because there's rumor that they're closing. And it all just went straight to your call cannot be completed as dialed.
Without warning, Al's formal wear locations across the country closed abruptly this week. Nobody has been answering their phones, and on their doors, these vague notes. Quote, sorry, we are closed today. We apologize for any inconvenience. If you are a customer returning your tuxedo from the weekend, you will not be charged late fees and may keep your tuxedo. Please visit our website, dapperanddashing.com.
I mean, I'm trying to see what the website they just put up there. If that don't work, then I don't know. Like I'm out of my money.
Tonight, the situation has been more than an inconvenience for customers who can't even get their money back.
Anything that they've paid, they present with a receipt. We're going to take care of it for them.
Luckily, there are other tux rental stores that are ready to help. Stephanie and Daniel are getting help at this Men's Warehouse location off of 1960.
We can do it within a week. I've been here for 30 years now, and I've turned things around within, I would say, a day.
Now they're hoping they'll be ready for their big day a second time.
And they were strict about wanting you to return it the day after, but they weren't too strict about closing their doors on everybody.
In West Houston, I'm Matt Doherty, KHOU 11 News.
A Houston parent reached out to KHOU 11 with a question for Houston ISD. How are you going to stop students from cheating via AI? At least one local district in our area is looking into it. Stephanie Whitfield checked in with Fort Bend ISD to find out how it's addressing the issue.
A new school year comes with a new challenge for educators across the country. Artificial intelligence tools are at students' fingertips, so there's a real concern some will put ChatGPT to work instead of doing it themselves. Melissa Hubbard is the executive director of teaching and learning at Fort Bend ISD.
The program that we use in our summer program did catch a couple of pieces of text that were submitted, and what they did is they flagged it as potentially AI generated.
She says if that happens, teachers read the writing and consider the students' past work. To help make the right call, this year, FBISD has made ChatGPT available on staff computers.
So we needed teachers quickly to be able to use the platform and get a feel for its tone, the style of its writing, what it looked like, and what it could be used for, both the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Chris Nilsson says there are benefits.
What it takes to be a good writer is shifting, and the skills needed to be a good writer are shifting, and we need to prepare our kids for the world they will live in for the next 70 and 80 years, which looks very different from the world of the 1970s, 80s, or 90s.
He says the district is on a path to eventually allow some students to use ChatGPT in the classroom. But for now,
we will be looking for students who are not engaging in the learning and producing work in an authentic way. And that can be through the use of technology, but it could be good old-fashioned passing notes that have the answers to a test.
Because she says those shortcuts shortchange their education. Stephanie Whitfield, KHOU 11 News.
As your education station, KHOU 11 is committed to helping you get ready for the school year. You can check out all the stories we've done about local districts, schools, and students at khou.com/education. The Katy community remembered a high school cheerleader who died after suffering cardiac arrest at a cheer camp. Callie Mitchell's parents sat down with Grace White, telling her that while they are heartbroken, they are determined to tell Callie's story.
She was like sunshine.
For Michelle and Scott Donahue,
always wanted to befriend anyone and everyone.
There is no greater loss than their 16-year-old daughter, Callie Marie Mitchell.
She left for cheer camp on a Monday, and she was super excited.
Her mother will never forget the moment the cheer coach called from the camp they were attending at Texas A&M.
She called me and said, "Hey, does Callie have trouble waking up in the morning?" I was like, "No, never."
Her parents jumped in their cars and drove to College Station. When they got there, they learned that same coach had performed CPR on Callie.
If it wasn't for Eberly, we would have never had the chance to say goodbye.
Callie was airlifted from College Station to Texas Children's in Houston. She died on August 1st.
Probably was a cardiac arrest that happened first that was caused from long QT syndrome.
It's a genetic disorder that affects the electrical system that controls your heart.
If this is for any other parents out there, I know they do physicals every year. EKGs are not part of a physical. Get an EKG.
Their daughter, who started out cheering at the age of 2 for her brother's Little League team, never did.
What did Callie teach you?
Faith.
Faith, for sure.
And even on Instagram, she took a stand for what she believed. Her parents want her to be remembered for the last words she wrote. His plan over mine.
More than anything, she would want them to have faith in God and know that they are redeemed.
Callie's parents told us they're now doing genetic testing on their other children as a precaution. But parents, there's something else you can do thanks to Cody's Law, which was passed in 2019. It gives you the option to get your student athlete an EKG during their physical. Callie's parents believe an EKG would have detected her condition. Governor Abbott visited New Caney on Wednesday for a ceremonial signing of the state's property tax relief deal. It is not official yet, though. Janelle Bluta explained voters have to approve it.
These measures still need your vote, but in Harris County, a new law could have huge impacts on our upcoming election. With a line outside waiting to get in, today's ceremonial signing of property tax relief was nothing short of historic.
The largest property tax cut in the history of our state.
2 bills that, with your vote, will do several things. Allow the state to send money to school districts to help lower tax rates, raise the homestead exemption to $100,000, and cap appraisals for non-homestead properties, which means for an average home in Texas worth about $300,000, that homeowner will save between $1,200 to $1,400 a year.
It will actually mean a lot. I can put something in my savings for my rainy day.
And there's benefits for small businesses. It still needs your vote, but in Harris County, some are concerned the upcoming election, where you'll cast that vote, will be chaotic.
Remember, we have many elections that are being run this November.
In Austin yesterday, Harris County attorneys were asking a Travis County judge for an injunction on a new law that on September 1st will abolish the Harris County Elections Administrator's Office and return the duties back to 2 elected county leaders.
When you're preparing for an election, you start 9 months out, and to turn that over to a new set of officials just weeks before the start of voting in a new election is going to be catastrophic.
But today, state lawmakers disagreed.
You couldn't have any more chaos than we've already had for the last 2 elections in Harris County.
Senator Paul Betancourt, the author behind that new law, says it's going back to how things were run before.
The sooner you get it done, the better, because these are elected officials that have had prior experience, and in some cases, they're going to get their old employees back because they've actually ran those departments before.
That judge has not yet ruled on the injunction. If it is granted, though, it will likely be appealed, and it could eventually be decided by the Texas Supreme Court.
To learn more about other issues on the November ballot and new laws going into effect on September 1st, check out khou.com/politics. In this Texas heat, even the zoo animals need to cool off. The Houston Zoo is getting creative to keep its animals hydrated, and Sherman Chow went behind the scenes to show us how.
Who isn't trying to stay cool right now in this heat? Certainly these elephants at the Houston Zoo, where they're using a little bit of dirt. Or check this out, frolicking in the water like a lot of kids like to do, but not every animal comes equipped with its own personal shower head. The Houston Zoo gave us a behind-the-scenes look at some of the exhibits, including the giant Galapagos turtles, who get a daily shower to cool off and stay cooler in part thanks to their shells.
It's cooler than my hand.
To cool down and stay hydrated, animals also get ice pops and jello, often with a surprise inside.
They get a yummy treat, could be a piece of fruit, could be lettuce, could be a piece of meat.
Fans aplenty help keep the staffers cool, who also get AC breaks. Plus,
we have electrolyte popsicles as a little treat for our
staff too.
Yeah, absolutely. We get ice treats for people and for animals.
These cool downs help perk up the animals, who then get a little curious about visitors. And on hot days, some creatures, like elephants, get the best man-made treat of all.
We'll give them access to their air-conditioned bedroom area, so we give them the best care we possibly can. That includes a little extra AC, then that includes a little extra AC.
Something else the zookeepers will use? Heat guns like this one to check the surface heat of various structures. That way if it gets too hot, well, some of these lucky critters will get to escape to their cool places.
Keep tabs on the heat with the KHOU 11 News app. It's free to download, and you can check out current temps, the forecast, and live radar. Thursday, Houston ISD parents packed another contentious school board meeting as they push back against the state's takeover. This meeting was much shorter than the one last week and had a distinctly different tone. Zach Tawatari talked to parents, students, and teachers who aren't buying what the state-appointed superintendent is selling.
With the first day of school now just weeks away,
under God, one and indivisible.
Parents, students, and teachers turn their backs literally on state-appointed HISD Superintendent Mike Miles. And the Texas Education Agency's hand-picked Board of Managers. Dictatorship. Libraries, again, a major source of contention.
The library is more than checking out books. Please listen, it's more than checking out books.
With a planned read-in protest taking place, speakers and those in attendance voiced their displeasure with the superintendent's controversial policy to convert some HISD libraries into so-called team centers and get rid of librarians. Former librarian Janice Newsom speaking with us tonight.
There will be no places for these students to enjoy reading, to practice reading, to build the stamina that they need.
Miles and the board had 40 items on their agenda, among them an amendment to require quarterly reporting of any district contracts from $250,000 and $1 million. It follows a decision to up Miles' discretionary spending power from $100,000 to $1 million. Miles also says the district has less than 100 teacher vacancies, down from more than 600 last year. Teacher shortages were the #2 concern for parents in our KHOU 11 Back to School survey.
There is a shortage of teachers, or teachers are leaving the profession. So filling vacancies is probably the most important thing we have to do at the start of a school year.
As parents, students, and teachers remain unconvinced about what's next.
Houston ISD classes start on August 28th. As of Friday, wildfires had claimed at least 55 lives as they ripped across Maui, destroying hundreds of buildings and hundreds of years of history. The second deadliest U.S. wildfire in a century also forced evacuations. Some of the people affected are from Houston, including one of our KHOU 11 colleagues who ran from the fire. She shared her experience with Anayeli Ruiz.
What was supposed to be a dream vacation in Hawaii quickly turned into a scary situation for Gracie Richardson Montañez and her family.
You can see patches of fire, and at one point it was like a small patch, and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Gracie is an editor here at KHOU, but she flew to Maui for a vacation with her girls on Tuesday. She says they were headed to their resort when they got stuck in traffic.
We were between two fires that never got anywhere close to us. My daughters were safe. We were in a safe place.
That night, she says they had to sleep in their car. They never made it to their resort. And last night, they had to sleep in a shelter as they waited for a flight out.
We had warm food this morning, we had so much food last night.
And many other Houstonians who had a place to stay in Hawaii also decided to leave early.
We really shouldn't be taking up any of the hotel space or anything else for anybody that may need the shelter right now. So it's just best for people to start leaving so that we can just give up that space to the people that need it.
In the meantime, Gracie and her family are headed back from the most expensive vacation that never happened.
We had already excursions planned. We were celebrating my daughter. She turned 13. I was going to surprise her with a luau.
But despite it all, she's counting her blessings.
But we're walking away. We're going back home and we're safe.
And praying for those families in Maui that have lost it all. Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
Drought conditions are worsening in the Houston area and all over Texas, prompting water restrictions in some communities. One of the latest to limit water is Tomball. Troy Kless met one man who says he is willing to do his part.
This Tomball man is proud. No dirt patches in sight.
Well, I've been trying to take care of my lawn, as for one, but now that I see the strong restrictions coming up, I'm just going to cut back completely.
Juan Cantu has lived here for about 16 years. He understands why the city made the call.
I think it's a good idea with all this heat and no rain. Obviously, we need to cut back.
Public Works Director Drew Huffman says the plan is educating people.
So the importance of following the rules is really just helping us with our production for our water and just making sure that we have plenty of water for our just normal daily activities and also for public safety, for fire.
Under Stage 2, watering with irrigation systems or sprinklers is prohibited between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. Washing your car and filling swimming pools also prohibited between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. You can only water your lawn 1 day a week. Odd addresses are on Wednesdays and even addresses are on Thursdays. And using water for fountains or ponds, excluding ponds for fish, is prohibited. Huffman says the grass will be greener on the other side of this drought.
It can withstand drought. Most of our different grass types can withstand drought. So we're really hopeful of rain really soon. And so we're hoping that the weather pattern changes for us.
Cantu hopes others will understand.
If we all get together and do it together, we'll definitely hold back and survive the drought.
The city says the restrictions don't apply to commercial car washes. Also, watering your lawn with a bucket or watering can is allowed. The goal is to reduce daily water demand by 20%. Where can you take a train ride, play a soccer match, and even cool off at a splash pad? One Harris County hidden gem offers all that and more. Soccer fields, trails, pavilions, grills, even a splash pad.
We're at Zube Park, which is one of the 54 parks we have in Precinct 4.
A number you can tell makes Harris County Commissioner Leslie Briones proud.
I grew up a few blocks from a park in South Texas where I'm from, and I spent so many hours. When I think of my childhood, I think of the neighborhood park. And so our vision is that everyone here in Harris County is within a 10-minute walk from a park.
This one spans 225 acres in Hockley.
I'm really happy that families here can enjoy it. And other families in other parts of Harris County, if you're coming out to our outlets, it's just a few minutes from there, come enjoy this gorgeous park.
It's so big, there are multiple entrances, all with different features. The splash pad is on the south side. This is a park, so of course it's gonna have a jungle gym, but it also has gym equipment that adults can use for free.
I love it because it's all about building community.
On the north side of the park, you'll find another playground and acres of athletic fields. That's near where Houston area live steamers operate a free, inclusive, and accessible train that runs through the park.
That is a 6-mile-long journey.
The man after whom the park is named took a much longer journey to get here. Charles Zube came to this part of the world from the Kingdom of Prussia, purchasing a large tract of land in Hockley in the 1800s.
This park sits on Mr. Zube's land. So I thank all from the Zube family and the descendants of Mr. Zube who made this spectacular jewel possible for our families here in Harris County.
Beyond recreation, the park provides mitigation. Think flooding.
The eastern end of the park has a detention basin that flows into Harris County Flood Control's efforts here in Hockley. Because we have such challenges with flooding, we're looking at each park as an opportunity to build up our natural infrastructure and have a positive effect and improvement with flood mitigation. So we're looking for these win-win-wins.
Is there anything this park doesn't have?
I know, I wish it had air conditioning right now, especially as we sit here in the midst of the summer. But right now we're here and there's dozens of families, and each year there's approximately 50,000 people who enjoy it.
Now you know you can join them at Zube Park. Maybe Hockley's too long a drive for you, but I bet we've highlighted some hidden gems closer to where you live. If you go to khou.com/hidden gems, you can explore an interactive map of all the green spaces, museums, experiences, small businesses, and more that we've highlighted. Summer heat in Texas. It is something student athletes are used to, but 2 straight weeks of triple-digit temperatures, that is hotter than normal by a lot. Sherman Chow found out what it takes to keep players safe in this extreme heat.
So the question of whether athletes in high school, any kind, not just football, maybe it's baseball, maybe it's track, can practice outdoors these days all depends on this little guy. It is called a wet bulb thermometer, and the magic number, it must be below 91.2. We shot this earlier in the day at 11:30 a.m. and the heat was already brutal. There is ice, water, brakes, all the traditional cool-down aids. But this year, something new, the wet bulb, which reads
Humidity, the ambient temperature, wind speed, and then I think the radiation angle and things like that puts it in some fancy formula and gives us a temperature reading that determines, what we can and can't do.
Different readings allow for different tiers of practices with different durations, required breaks, and the amount of gear worn. Coaches also use a weather app purchased by school districts for monitoring weather. It includes the wet bulb readings and what practice tier is allowed.
Let's go, running backs, let's go! As coaches, what we constantly have kind of govern us, if you will, because we don't have our laptops or meteorologists, standing next to us. So it's an app that we use.
Paul, you need to get out here. Afternoon practices are hard to predict. Some days they're canceled or executed just halfway.
I personally think the wet bulb is supposed to be more accurate, but it seems definitely more strict than the heat index for sure.
Wet bulb reading applies not just to football players, but all high school athletes. My kids happened to run track when they were in high school, and on hot days they would pour water onto the surface of the track so that sprinters' hands could tolerate the heat. It is a little toasty when they get into those starting blocks. All kinds of new and old ways to try and keep kids safe.
This weekend's your chance to load up on back-to-school supplies without paying sales tax. Troy Kless broke down what's eligible.
We waited for this weekend.
Tax-free weekend coming at a perfect time for this mom. Texans expected to save $136 million on items, including clothes and certain school supplies. Tax-free weekend can offer a little bit of relief for your wallet.
I think it helps all parents, right? Like anytime we're out there shopping when we can save, this weekend is a good option.
Although for most of us, it is an 8% sale. In the Memorial City Mall, the shopping list can go long for these families.
Shoes. Their kids' feet grow so fast, so shoes.
Everything. I have to buy their clothes, school supplies. I'm still half of it done, half of it not done.
And this mom has a few weeks left to get her kids the supplies they need.
I'm a single mom right now, so it helps out a lot. It could just, he got extra things just because of the tax-free.
Parents aren't the only ones shelling out a lot of money while back-to-school shopping. Teachers often dig into their own pocket. Aniela Ruiz tagged along with a Pasadena teacher who's getting her classroom ready for the first day of school.
It's a busy time for many school teachers. They're getting their classroom back in shape, and third grade bilingual teacher Nancy Basoria
I'm going to start my 11th year.
Is no exception. She starts decorating her room as soon as custodians here at Jensen Elementary allow her back in the school. But this veteran teacher spent several summer days shopping for her kiddos. She buys all the decorations and, yes, even has a theme for her room.
This year is going to be UH, go Cougs.
It's all about the Cougs for this teacher, and every cent she's spent so far is her own money.
Sadly, yes, it is. Yes, like everything we use for decorations came out of our pockets.
Well, to be fair, she says she also dips into some of her husband's money.
Yes, it's every year a fight with him. It's like I spend my money and I also spend a little bit of his money.
She goes through all of this trouble not just for her. She says she does this to have a nice space to teach, but more importantly, for her students.
for maybe, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 students, this is a safe place during the whole year for them. So I want them to feel safe, to be engaged in the classroom, to, I don't know, be like able to come to school like every day and be happy in here.
And if you're wondering how much this teacher has spent this year to transform this into the KHOU's house?
So like $500?
Mm-hmm, maybe.
That's not counting the school supplies her kiddos need the most.
Glue sticks, pencils, journals, crayons.
Thanks to Facebook donations, she's able to buy those supplies for students who can't afford their own.
I don't do it in front of the other kids, but I leave it like under their desk so they can, like as I say, feel safe and happy in here.
All this can have a big payoff.
When I come to work and I see them every morning, picture like a doctor or maybe a lawyer or I don't know, maybe an engineer. So that's why I do that.
A dream shared by teachers all across our area, not just in this vibrant 3rd grade classroom in Pasadena. Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
Just another reminder to share your questions and concerns about your child's school district as we start a new school year. All you have to do is text the word school to 713-526-1111 and we'll send you a link to our back to school survey. Mia Gradney is taking those questions and concerns directly to district leaders. She's interviewed several local superintendents just this week. You can watch those full conversations on khou.com/education. Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you're ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via khou.com and YouTube, as well as by using our free KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Have a great week.